Hey, good morning. This is Andy Crowner.
Hey, how are you, Andy?
I'm doing just fine. So we're not buying wind turbines?
No. There's 48 of them had to be shut down because apparently when lightning strikes the blades, they break off.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, and how do you, I was trying to think in my mind, these blades are 175 feet tall that they're talking about. The blade, not the turbine. So the turbine has to be even taller. So the top of the turbine is the center of the blade in terms of vertical height. So how do you put lightning protection, up above there somehow, right? I mean, you'd have to have, I don't know, some kind of stick sticking up 200 feet to direct the lightning away from the blades.
I want to know what happened to the guy that was building these in Texas or somewhere southwest, was building thousands of these things. He used to have radio ads talking about it.
Yeah? You want to know where he is now? Retired on a beach.
Yeah.
And that's my guess, anyway.
You got it.
Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing just great. How are you this morning?
Good. You got a meeting, was it last night? Tonight. Yeah, tonight. What's going to go on at West Burlington tonight?
Yeah, we've got a lot of big subjects tonight. First one will be we have a public hearing, and then we will approve plans and specs and estimated costs for the lift station out at the landfill, which this is a project that has no cost to the city. The landfill is doing it so that they can hook up to our sewer. Should be good. We should make some money as a city off of it. The landfill should pay some lower costs long term, so hopefully our fees will go down. Yeah, right. So it should be a good project, so we're going to talk about that tonight.
Not a bad goal, though, right? No.
Anytime we can partner with another government entity and lower some costs, or at least try to, that's a good thing to endeavor to.
Right. What I've loved about our visits about the West Burlington City Council each week, some of which is that I am always impressed at the city's immersion in the infrastructure, roads, sewers. I mean, they stick to what cities do or should do anyway as priorities. Like there's always, roads, landfills, sewer lines, water tower, stuff, sidewalks. I love that. I'm never upset when a city is using taxpayer money for those priority and meaningful infrastructure things. So congratulations as a city to sticking to the basics and not trying to change the world socially,
Yeah, really, hats off to the council and of course, previous councils that have been there forever and ever and keeping the city on track and just doing what needs to be done as a city. And so the other big thing we're talking about tonight is the new water tower, which we've discussed a few times. So we're going to actually put that out to bid. That's a 2-year project, so it should be done 2022. So that's going to move the building out by you across from Deary's and the water tower there out to the new shops. It's a big project, but it needs to be done. That building and just the entire infrastructure over there at that water tower has a lot of issues. So.
Is it going to be a water tower like across from the hospital or a water tower like this giant tank out here, the blue one?
It's actually going to be a little different than either one of those. It's going to be a more like a slender, tall tower with a little bit of a larger top on it, but more of a funnel look to it.
Huh. Okay.
So it has a little shorter footprint that way.
I haven't any idea what the purpose of water towers are. They have them up in the air so that they can maintain the pressure through the system. Is that it, or what?
And I think one thing to think about is, water is always flowing downhill. So anytime we're talking about water towers and lift stations and those kind of things, it's to help move that water from one place to another. Anytime we talk a lift station, it's taking sewer water and physically lifting the water back up so it can then continue to drop and use gravity. So we're not using power to push water 24 hours a day. So
Right. So
that is a lot of what that infrastructure does.
Gotcha. So we pump water into the top of a water tower, and then it's a massive weight and causes pressure that we all enjoy in our faucets and whatnot? Is that right?
Yeah, and I am not the water tower pro. I know a lot about where it's going, how much it costs, how we're paying for it, that kind of stuff.
All right. I'll get Gifford to explain all that to me, because surely he's up on it, right?
Well, or we might want to call Mike Brissy and bring him on. That'd be a fun interview. Sounds
good. There was some talk besides that of there's something to do with housing in the news, right? West Burlington Avenue?
Yeah, we're going to combine one lot, which the city bought for $1, and we tore down a house, and we're going to combine that lot with another one right next to it.
Where?
And that's on West Burlington Avenue, and it's 310, and I think it's 314 is the other one. So if you ever look at 310, it's got a big ditch going through it. And so we're going to keep a easement through that ditch and then just combine a little bit of that 310 with 314. And that's actually going with the Southeast Iowa Housing, Inc., which is doing some low-cost housing in the area. And they do some great housing projects. So they're building a new house right there.
Explain to me what neighborhood that is. I'm having trouble visualizing exactly where that is.
It's close over to the pool. So if you went from our pool over towards like Keystone, it's in that range.
Gotcha. All right. Sounds good. And then sidewalks on Houston Street, maybe?
Yeah, if you've been down Houston, we're in there putting in new sidewalks this week. They're doing a great job in the cold, and that's going to be really nice. There was some sidewalks that really needed some help there. And one of the things we're discussing is that original plan didn't have some sidewalks in areas that currently are missing sidewalks. And that's something I was really pressing for. Over in the Melville area, there's about 2 houses that don't have a sidewalk, and so you can't go from Houston down to the church or down to the school over there. So that's something I'd really like to get done. I don't know what all will get done with that, but we're going to discuss it tonight and vote on the plan.
Mostly there's sidewalks on the north side of Houston Street, right?
You got it. And I'm okay with, if there's just a sidewalk on one side, again, I walk that most every day, and I'm okay with that, but there's an area in there that doesn't have a sidewalk on either side, and it's kind of a major hub for especially kids walking to school from the west side of town.
There's been a major push about bike lanes and these kinds of things, and I'm all for that in a sense, but making a city walkable, especially a nice, smaller city like West Burlington, I feel like is more important even than some of these other things.
Well, it's more important these days when you try to encourage people to get out and exercise, and that obviously has a big help on the health of the community, but it's also just an immediate safety issue. Because right now, if there's a kid walking to school there, he's got to get out on the street and walk, and there's usually cars parked right there too, so now you're kind of out in the middle of the street.
Right.
So that's just an area I'd like to clean up.
Good. This is Andy Crowner from the West Burlington City Council. We've been talking over and over about the speed limit changes. Any movement on that, or do you expect anything to happen with that tonight?
We tabled that last meeting. It is not on the agenda for tonight, but we did actually receive a message that state code states that we need to do a traffic study and an engineering study as well. And so I think we're going to discuss it if we want to move forward and actually do those studies or not. And I know city manager and at least one council person was still kind of pushing for, hey, let's just change it and don't even worry about it. But I think we need to follow code, and those things are there for a reason. So hopefully we'll discuss that and see if we think it's worth it to spend the money to do that.
Right. And then there's some talk about a new telephone system at City Hall. What's the old one like? What's the push
the
there?
old one's been there quite a while, and it's been there long enough. You know how an electronic piece is. It starts to become hard to fix because the parts aren't available. So a couple of years ago, they budgeted a new system, and they put away about $25,000 for it, which is crazy to me that a phone system would cost $25,000.
Right.
Brad Newberry, our IT person up at the city, has come up with a good option that's and it costs a couple $1,000s to get the phones, and then it'll bump up our monthly costs just a little bit, but not very much. So we're going to discuss that tonight. And I think it's actually through Verizon, so it should be a good system.
And this would be all VoIP type deal, or physical landline telephones, Or
Yeah, I think it's physical landline is what I saw, but it also had some IP capabilities. So it almost looked like a hybrid. I read through some of the documentation, but I'll be honest, I was reading more for contract details of, how long a contract and costs and cancellation fees and those kind of things is
Right.
typically what I'm looking at.
And can you switch to your real estate hat? Spend a couple minutes on that before you go?
Definitely.
Is that everything for city business that I covered there or not?
Yeah, I think so. The
Okay.
only other thing I wanted to mention is Halloween is coming up, and I think we are going to go ahead and just set a time as a city to say, here's kind of the official Halloween trick-or-treat time. Not really an endorsed city function, not a city event, but if you want to participate, you can go do so, and here's the safe time to do that. So
It's good that it falls on a Saturday, right? That's a good thing. Yeah. And so you would have like a 5 to 7 type time, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's 5 to 7, maybe 5 to 6:30, somewhere in there. I'll come back and get with you on that. I think we're going to do that tonight.
Good.
And set that for sure.
Yeah. All right. Over to the real estate. Last week we talked some about first-time home buyers, and there's actually some money that the state, I think it's the state, has made available. I read about it in the newspaper at some point. And you were going to maybe get me some information on that.
Yeah, I pulled some information. So the government entity is the Iowa Finance Authority, and I looked just briefly to see if I could see who they answer to, and I didn't see that right off the bat.
Like most state governmental agencies, they really answer to no one. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. I thought maybe it would be a national thing under HUD or something like that, but I didn't see that on their website. But so it's the Iowa Finance Authority, and the program they're talking about, because they have several programs, is the First Home Program.
Okay.
So there's two options with this program. Number one is a $2,500 grant, and that money can be used for the down payment or closing costs for a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
Yeah, big chunk of money, especially these days when you're talking about you don't need 20% down. You're looking at 3.5% down plus some closing costs. $2,500 is a big chunk of that.
Yeah, that's great. Grant. I like that word.
Yeah, and just a grant, so you don't have to pay that back. And then the second option is they also have a $5,000 loan, so you can double the amount, but you got to pay it back. And that $5,000 is a little iffy. It's up to 5% of the sale price. So if you're buying a $100,000 home, you can get that $5,000. If you're only buying a $50,000 home, that's down to the $2,500. So
gotcha.
And that one is repayable at the time that you sell the house, that you refinance, or if you pay your first mortgage off, then you pay that back. There's no monthly fees, no monthly payments, those kind of things, but you pay it back at that time.
So you borrow the $5,000, and then until you sell the house, more or less, or make some kind of refinancing arrangement, there are no payments and nothing is due?
You got it, yep. Until you either sell it, refinance, or if you pay off the loan.
Is there interest along the way if it's 30 years from now when you pay it off?
I did not see any interest on that, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
And those are for first-time home buyers only, right?
So it's called a first-time home buyer program, but that's a little bit misleading because they call a first-time home buyer anyone that has not owned their own residence that they're living in the last 3 years.
Excellent. So if you moved around a little bit for your job and had to rent here or there or had some other arrangements, you come in again as a first-time home buyer 3 years later.
You got it. Or, maybe you hit a bump in the road in 2008 or something like that, and, 3 years down the road, now you can buy and get $2,500 extra bucks to help you with your down payment.
That's really pretty good because I feel like, I haven't rented in this town in a long, long time, but I feel like rents during the fertilizer days, especially the fertilizer plant build out, rents got to a point where most people could buy a home with their rent payment if they had or could scrape together a down payment. That was what was stopping most people, most young people especially. This really alleviates that, sounds like.
Yeah, and especially, with the low interest rates, the low down payment that you need right now, I mean, you can definitely buy for the same that you're paying in rent. I've been working with a lot of first-time home buyers right now, and they can definitely get in there as long as your credit score is like, mid 600, something like that. You got a little bit of money to scratch together for a down payment. Much easier and much cheaper to buy right now.
Probably an income restriction on that. You can't be a millionaire, right, or something?
You got it. There's a couple of restrictions. I'll go through them real fast. So your max income is just under $80,000 for a single person to get this grant.
Not a problem.
If you're a dual income property, $101,000.
Right.
There's a limit on the home as well, which is kind of funny to me. So that your limit's it's got to be under $294,000 home.
Not $295,000. $294,000. Okay.
You got it. And of course, the $294,000 home in the Burlington area that's a really great home.
Quite
so
nice.
Funny
yeah.
That we're giving assistance for that.
And there's not a lot of people going to exceed the $101,200 two-income household amount either. I mean, where our median income is like half of that. So that's pretty generous, actually.
You got it. Yeah, a lot of people would qualify for it, especially if you really are a first-time home buyer, you're in your first, second job, you're probably not making more than that. So this is a great program. They do also have some different rules for military. If you've been discharged from the military, and at least not dishonorably discharged, and you have not used a state or federal mortgage program before, you can get this grant. So even if you have owned your own residence, as long as you qualify as a military person, you can go ahead and get this grant as well. And then they also have specific areas they've targeted in the state where, again, if you've owned your home already, you don't qualify basically under one of these. If you purchase in a specific area, you can still get the grant.
Ah, well, that's good to know.
So if you're interested in one of those, the Iowa Finance Authority's got that on their website. You have to kind of search by zip code and find them all.
Or you can go to andycrowner.com where you'll find links to all of these programs we're discussing today, and usually any day that we discuss these things. andycrowner.com is the website for my guest, Andy Crowner. And with these things, you're still working with a local lender, right? I mean, you're still at your hometown bank or whatever?
You got it. And I'm a real estate agent. I'm a realtor. So, I'm telling you about these things that are basically right on the Iowa Finance Authority website. But I definitely recommend you should work with a good local lender. We got a lot of great options in our town. That's something we're very thankful to have is some great loan officers that really know what they're doing. And you should really get with them and get pre-approved if you're thinking about buying a house. And they can walk you through all the steps on how to get this money and make down payments. And then I can help you with kind of crafting your offer in a way where maybe we have the seller pay for some of the other down payment costs and closing costs, and you can really get into a home without having too much money down.
Beautiful. Beautiful. AndyCrowner.com is your contact website. Of course, he's all over Facebook under Andy Crowner as well, or whatever the other things are, Instagram and whatnot. Andy, you got about a minute left. Give me your home of the week. What do you got out there that I don't know about maybe?
Well, we talked about some lots, and we keep having some other ones pop up. We've got some in Burlington, West Burlington, Danville. There's quite a few. If you're interested in maybe building right now, might be a good time as well. And then we've got a couple good West Burlington homes on the market right now. I know my mom just listed one over on Winter, a good 3-bedroom house. So if you're interested in getting West Burlington right now, it's a good time.
Yeah, and that's very often you can't get into West Burlington. There's no availability, no inventories many times. So, all right, thanks so much. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, andycrowner.com is your contact website, and you'll see links to all kinds of good stuff on these programs we talk about each week. And we'll stop now for the 8:30 news. This is KCPS.